Father Martin once again, and I am doing this recording in a very special way for the feast day today of St. Augustine as a way of greeting my companions in the St. Monica Religious Studies, the professor who are Augustinians under the Augustinian Discals, Order of Discals Augustinian, and a lot of seminarians who are actually belong to that particular order. And I'd like to briefly reflect on the legacy of St. Augustine, such huge and colossal contribution in the church. In fact, Pope Benedict XVI acknowledged the debt of his gratitude for St. Augustine, who have influenced also him theologically, and of course, for that matter, for the whole church. There's so many beautiful things we could talk about St. Augustine, but I'd like to reflect on one of the most fundamental influence in his life, in the very personal level. St. Augustine was a model of someone who seeks always the truth. In fact, Pope Benedict XVI called him the one who has such a passion for truth, a passionate seeker for the truth. And we realize that St. Augustine cannot seek something, or for all of us, we cannot seek something, unless somehow we already found it. We already have a foretaste of what we try to seek. Something like you found someone who actually satisfies your human heart before, and you start searching for that one whom you have lost. In other words, to seek presupposes already a knowledge of something that you seek. And this is at the very heart of the teaching of St. Augustine. He said that there is an image of the Trinity within us. And that was actually the correction he made about himself. He said, I tried to seek the truth from outside, but you're just within me, Lord. You're within me in my interior life, in my soul, but I have not discovered you. And that is actually what he gives us as a beautiful human psychological experience. All of us are somehow seeking for the truth. And what kind of truth St. Augustine was seeking of? It's not just any kind of truth of mathematics, of economics, or politics, but actually it's a beatifying truth, a truth that makes us happy, a happiness that's actually infinite, a happiness that will never fade away. And that's what he's looking for. Besides, the truth he was looking for is something that collectively can make us understand the whole reality. Everything that will make sense and fit into the whole concept, you might say. It's kind of, your experience of your geometry when you're in high school. When you understand the statement and the reason, how or the formula fits in, it's kind of satisfying. Now, put it in a universal way, St. Augustine was looking for this beatifying truth that makes all things, big or small, make sense. That's why for Augustine, theology is the highest of all science, because it is only in God that everything makes sense. But Augustine, in his own experience, did not find the truth in an easy way. In fact, he went through a period of time that he almost lost it. He, in fact, joined the Manichaeism. So I'd like to give you three conditions, at least three. They're not exhaustive number. How St. Augustine discovered this beatifying truth, this truth that makes you happy. First and foremost, for Augustine, in order to discover authentic truth, you've got to purify your conscience. It is a life of sin based on his own experience that makes us incapable of discovering truth. In fact, John of the Cross taught us in his Dark Night of the Soul that when the soul is actually impure or contaminated, the less the light of God's truth can come in. John of the Cross used the analogy of the window glass. When it is dirty and dusty, the less the light of the sun can come in. And so, in a similar way, for Augustine, the condition for discovering truth is a purified conscience. It's only to that degree that we strip away all these hindrances in the discovery of truth. And it's very important for Augustine. That is why later on he would emphasize the need of approaching the sacrament of reconciliation as a way to being illuminated by God. The second condition for Augustine in the discovery of truth is that we cannot discover the truth all by ourselves. We need God's grace. St. Augustine is a very smart person, you know. He loved philosophy and wisdom. But even though he was smart, he was actually confused. In fact, he was mistaken. He joined the heresy called Manichaeism in his search for truth. In other words, he said, we need grace of God that should come into our lives. The grace that will make a complete and complement what we lacking in the natural order. St. Augustine said that we need this because by our own human natural effort alone, we cannot have a complete understanding of the truth. This is the reason why he was one of the fathers, in fact, the first father of the church, who emphasized the need of infant baptism. It is through baptism that we receive the grace of God. If the child is abandoned without the grace of God, the child grows up without the benefit of assistance of grace all his life. It might end up, like St. Augustine, being confused. And so grace is necessary in order to have a complete understanding of the truth. The third condition for Augustine, in order to discover the truth, that is beatifying. For Augustine, truth and faith is a communal act. We need someone to help us discover the truth. In fact, it was St. Monica, whose feast day was celebrated before St. Augustine's feast day today, that helped him out. In other words, in a holy way, pushing him to discover the truth. It was through St. Ambrose, the Bishop of Milan, and his preaching that illuminated St. Augustine, helped him out in his confusion, makes him very curious about Christianity. In other words, truth and our faith, according to Pope Benedict, is actually a communal act. Every article of faith that we believe is an article of faith that is not discovered by us directly and personally. They were handed on to us by a community we call the church. And that is why every profession or act of faith is a communal profession of faith, because we profess the truth of the Trinity, of Jesus' incarnation, of Mary's perpetual virginity, of the presence of Jesus in the Eucharist, because they have been handed on to us by a community of believers. In other words, for Augustine, it's very hard to find authentic truth in the absence of a community, which is the church who handed on to us. We cannot discover the truth all by ourselves, St. Augustine said. We need an assistance of someone else, either our family, our friends, our community. But he's referring specifically to the church, a believing community. Because of her, we're able to receive the benefits of believing the authentic truth. So these are just my little reflection for my brothers who are Augustinians, and I greet all of you who have been under St. Augustine, whether you're founded under the Augustinian order or somehow share this spirituality. I greet all of you a very happy feast day of St. Augustine today. God bless you all.